This presentation takes much longer, but I want to go directly to the main point. I always say something. In finance, in banking, it's very important to understand what happened in the past, to try to see why things happen today and what is going to happen tomorrow. But I begin. I think it's important we watch this video. Anybody from Holland here? Okay. This video has more than 10 years. You will see something that you think that is in China, and you will understand that not everything is happening in China. So as you can see, again, Apple Pay was launched exactly 8 years ago. These NFS payments in the ecosystem in Europe have more than 15 years already. So what I'm trying to say here now is that what happened in China, and again another question, can anybody remember when WeChat became the wallet that everybody's using? 2015. No, not 15. 16. No 16. Before. Wow. Exactly 9 years ago. It was the New Year's of Chinese New Year of 2013. Somebody that was never known, I could never find who, and maybe it's not still working for Tencent, realized if you see the numbers of WeChat, WeChat was launched in 2011. In 2012, especially because of Line, that Line is Japanese, it's from Rakuten, especially because of Line, lost a lot of consumers in 2012. So for 2013, somebody realized in the marketing team that due to the capabilities and the already implementation of WeChat, because we were here in China, we use WeChat. Even I have 2 phones, I had 2 WeChats, one from each phone. And they realized that they could send the Hongpao. The Hongpao idea was already inside the application, but somebody realized, so they released a significant amount of money in Hongpao. So those Hongpaos became Hongpaos transferable to somebody else, or even to be able to use in the stores. But the funny story comes now to Alipay, Trufabao. When do you think Trufabao was launched and ready to do what it's doing now so popularly? Even before. 2009. But the funny thing that online, I don't know guys if you already had, I had the idea when I came to work exactly here, to the center, to the M&A office of Ernst & Young. But at the time, I had a lot of time. I was not even 30 years old at the time, and I was always very curious about things, improvements in China. Alibaba already existed for the global market, but also Taobao was real in China. So I started selling shares online of Latin American football teams. River, my team, Boca, and Argentina, Brazil. I brought the original ones from Latin America on my trips, and it was a small thing. But already, Alipay was working on the platform of Taobao. I'm talking about 2005, 6, 7, 8, and of course 2009 came to the phones. Why? Basically because the breakthrough was done in the year 2007. What happened in 2007? Apple launched the iPhone. 2007. We are talking about 14 years ago. Before that, was very difficult to integrate this payment. It was the first smartphone, or let's say in a different way. In my view, the first popular smartphone. At the time, I had a Trio. For the Americans, probably remember, Trio was very popular, but died. The company was acquired by a fund, and they stopped. To me, it was much more functional. I was using Messenger in 2005 and 4 here in China, so I could communicate with my people overseas. So going back, okay, for anyone that is willing to ask me questions about crypto, I don't know, guys, if you know about this. Are you aware of the Tulip Crisis? This is the first crisis in the, I would say, financial industry, global industry, in the year 1636 in Amsterdam. Okay, what happened? Can anybody tell me quickly what happened with the tulips? Does anybody know or remember from you? I don't know who, please.
Prices shot up, people cultivated everyone from tulips, trying to get the rare varieties of black tulips.
Everybody tried to, what are you saying? Everybody tried to buy something that nobody had and think about NFCs. It rings a bell, what is happening? Okay. One day, somebody realized that happened exactly in February. Maybe it was a very cold day or something happened. And before this, in January, there's this famous transaction of one of these houses that now are worth more than 50 million euro in the Grand Canal in Amsterdam was exchanged for 2 bulbs of these rare tulips. Two flowers for a house. Something happened, nobody knows exactly what, but somebody realized that the value of the flower was not what people thought the value of the flower was. So the value of the flower was never back to what the value of the flower was. What I'm trying to say, I'm not saying that crypto is going this direction, don't get me wrong. What I'm saying that in the market, and when people ask me about investments, I don't advise people, I cannot even advise myself to do investments. I was lucky with some stocks or in some business I did in the markets. I was very unlucky in other business. So what I'm trying to say is that expectations are very important, but you need to do, when anybody tries to convince you to do your own research and take decisions by yourself. This is my big opinion in this. Of course, I will answer any question regarding crypto NFCs or similar. Now, let's go. Let's see why it's not moving. Okay, very quickly, this is part, I have a full lecture with questions and answers, but I took 8 that to me are the most significant ones for people that are not in the banking industry or finance industry and want to get to know about history very quickly. I don't pretend you to answer now because we don't really have much time, but I will go very quickly. What is the oldest bank that is still operational? It has a branch, a rep office here where we are now in Shanghai. Then, what is the first banknote? We have imagined that any of these questions can be open in many, many other things because people never thought about these things. But all these things explain, that's what part of what I say. All the past elements can explain what is happening now. Who brought the banknotes to Europe? That's probably much more easier for most of you. You probably read the books. But who was responsible for the expansion of the banknotes in Europe? Because somebody brought the notes, somebody opened Alipay, but if WeChat didn't do what they do, I don't know if the truth about today is what truth about is. I really don't know. I don't even know that if LMA and Waima and Meituan actually were able to be there if they didn't do what they did in Chinese New Year 2013. And this is a very interesting one for all the people like me. We can really realize that nobody gets this right. When was the first ATM machine operational, and where? Where? Try to guess where. Not in the US. Interesting. Number 6, from where are the 6 largest banks in the world today? That's very simple. Should be very simple for you being here in China. 7, the first Fintech innovation of the first innovation project, and then the first digital payment. I will go very quickly. We know we don't have much time. So, Monte dei Paschi di Siena, this bank is the oldest bank in the world, is here in China. China and the Tang Dynasty here on the second one. China created basically the paper note. And now China with the digital RMB is thinking in replacing the paper note. Marco Polo, Napoleon in 2018 was responsible. He even printed his own face in the coins, and he was responsible to make payments all around Europe. Very quickly, that's Barclays Bank in the UK, 1967. From the 10 largest banks in the world, 4 are from China, 4 are from America, and then we have HSBC, that is from the UK, and Mitsubishi Holding, that is from Japan. The first innovation, or the first global payment, was made through the transatlantic cables. And we are talking about only 1858, 1866. This was the time it took to do this connection. Before that, all the years, and we are going to go through history very quickly, that takes much longer, but it was impossible. It was all mail. It was very difficult to make global payments. It could do trade finance. And of course, the first company, you probably know, you probably used it, most of you, or know the way it can be integrated. PayPal in 1995. PayPal was the first official digital payment. There are movies about it. There is a very recent movie it's called Silk Road, that integrates also crypto. Now we have another crypto friend arriving a little bit late. So let's move forward very quickly. This is a timeline. I'm not going to wait a lot of time because we don't have much time. I will go. This is the history of banking, fintech, and payments that leads to September 2020. That is the official launch in Shenzhen of the pilot program of the digital renminbi. In my opinion, I am in finance for many years, from the early 90s. I started to work, and I can tell you, to me, it's a game changer. Why is a game changer? Because exactly the same situation that we have here in 1944, we are having today in 2022. What happened in 1944? And with this, I will jump into the digital renminbi and then jump into the conclusions. So I open the floor for questions. In 1944, anybody can tell me quickly what happened in 1944? The war was finishing. Bretton Woods. What happened in Bretton Woods?
The banks had to decide on a global world currency because the world's financial system had collapsed and infrastructure.
The war.
Stick to gold, and then like essentially make free currency.
Yeah.
The war was finishing. Be careful. The war was not finished. The war finished in June, actually in August, in 45. So we are talking about almost a year before the war was finished, but everybody was seeing what it was going. It was imminent. So the banks, there were no central banks, guys. This is very important. Most of the central banks were created because of decisions taken at this time. Not every country had a central bank. And the interesting thing is exactly what is happening now. At this moment, we have 2 main players that are US and China. But most transactions, global transactions of trade finance, are happening between US, China, but China specifically, if you talk about import and export, it's significant the amount of transactions that go through China, but most of them are done in US dollars. Going back to 1944, the US realized that it was holding all the gold of the world. That was true. This is big discussion. I can discuss this for hours. Most people tell me, well, for Germany it was very easy to get into Paris. Yeah, it was very easy to get into Paris, or why Germany didn't occupy Switzerland. From the financial point of view, I tell you, because all the gold was already in the US. In 1937, 38, and 39, all the gold of Europe went to the US to Fort Knox. Then the US realized, somebody, maybe it was pretty smart, realized that, wait, are we going to give back the gold? No, why? We don't need to give back the gold. It took to France, to Charles de Gaulle, that was the winner with the US of the war, more than 3 years to get the gold back. And Merkel in Germany got the gold, the final gold back in 2018. So imagine, you're talking about more than 60, 70 years that US hold the gold. So US realized that there was the best opportunity to agree, because everybody agreed in Bretton Woods. It was not unilateral. And this is exactly what I think that will happen with the digital RMB in some way in the near future. It should be a global agreement. It won't be unilateral. But in Bretton Woods was decided that the gold standard was changed to the US standard. Or let's say in a different way. The US invaded the war with the US currency to global transactions. Why? To give stability to trade finance. Again, this conversation can last for hours. We can be discussing this for a long time, and my people might agree or don't agree. What I can tell you is, from 1944 until 1971, no other transactions in the world, in all the countries involved, could be done in any other currency than US dollar. Nixon, for different other reasons, opened that and finished that and opened the world to other currencies, the German mark, for example, the Japanese yen, and later, of course, the euro and what we have today. So to finish this and to make it clear, because this is also a question I receive a lot in banking, any payment in trade finance can be done in renminbi for a long time. More than 10 years, China has a system that is called, let me go back to the China line. In China, in 1990, very quickly, China had one single, from 1949 until 1978, in China was only one bank, People's Bank of China, one bank policy. China opened 1978 to 3 other banks to do all the other transactions that PBOC couldn't do. After 1978, was open to foreign banks. Today, China is open to any foreign bank, either with a rep office or with a branch. And now China, in 2019, opened the market also for investment funds, hedge funds. This is the most famous investment was BlackRock with 1 billion fund that today exists. So probably most of you that are trying to do startups, after you get rounds of capitalization, can go into get money from these institutional investors. But going back, any transaction under this system after 1978 can be done globally in renminbi. So the problem is it's very complicated. It's extremely complicated, and you really need to have a good knowledge about banking system, and you need to go to your bank and explain what you need to do, both ways, import or export. But most of the countries in the world, through directly having accounts in China or through intermediary institutions, can make payments. At the moment, I am working for the strategy of the US bank that's called Eastern International Bank that is doing payments both in renminbi and US dollars, from China to the US, and now I'm expanding into Latin America, again in renminbi. This is a thing that most people tell you no, cannot be done. Yes, can be done. It's the same thing that when you say you can have a company as a foreigner without local partners, you can have a WOFI, yes. Most people know that already, but 20, 15 years ago, that was still an opportunity. Most people say, no, you cannot, you need to have. Then for strategic reasons, it's different if you need to have a local partner. In China, the first ATM machine came in 1985, almost 20 years after that the first was globally. China moved comparatively to other countries and other regions much, much faster. That's why I also explained why WeChat and Alipay are so popular in China. Finishing very quickly this part, to me, the term that we are starting to use in the industry is fintech innovation. It's not only fintech or financial innovation and financial technology. It's both. Financial innovation plus the technology all integrated. All these are elements that are use this term. securitization, hedge bank, panda bonds, the SWIFT code implementation. This is a very big thing too, because before the SWIFT code, the banks couldn't get the same language. CBDC, that is digital RMB, central bank digital currencies, and China interbanking payment system. So, very simple, very quickly. I will share a video later with you. What transaction that I personally did last June. I was one of the first. Some people tell me it was the first transaction of a foreigner with digital RMB. These are the countries that are considering launching digital currencies in the next 2 years. That survey was done 2020, updated 2021. This is the video that I will show later in the group. You can see, and this is what it looks. Most of you, let me ask you, who paid already with digital RMB here in the room? Okay, remember, nobody. Well, me. eBay, no? You didn't use it? You are the expert. The thing is, this is how it looks. It's a wallet, digital wallet. It's totally different from WeChat and Alipay for the ones that will ask this question. And the 6 main reasons are these. These are the pictures from the whole video and so on. First, digital RMB can make offline payments. If I have no signal in my phone, I can still make payments because the money is in my wallet that is inside my phone. It's a total different concept. WeChat and Alipay could have a system like that. They don't. They didn't develop that. If you don't have connection, you cannot make the payment because the money technically is stored inside the server of Alibaba or Tencent. This is a big difference. From the IT guys can realize it's very, very big difference. Also, if you think about before the integration with banks, remember that you had the wallet in WeChat and Alipay that you can still have. But that money was not linked to any bank account. So a lot of people are asking, okay, what happened with my money if something happens? And that question is still around. Second, these devices, the Xiaomi device or other devices from Huawei and a lot of developers that are developing them, they are zero, yet at the moment today, nobody has an operational device making payments yet. But the idea of the tokens is to democratize banking. There is calculated between 80 to 100 million people only in China that has no access to bank accounts yet. The idea is to generate that those guys get connection to the banking system through tokens. Those tokens, the main concept, and there are white papers about this from PBOC, it's not something that I can making it up, are created, these tokens are created by PBOC with these hardware and software developers. Then, for vendors, this is the most important thing business-wise. Today, when you make payments, you don't have any charge, any fees, but vendors have fees. Also, you have fees when you make transfers. If I send money to you now, you send 1,000 RMB, I pay 0.1%. Or the same if you send money to me, I need to pay my credit card. Through digital RMB is zero commissions. Why? Because it's cash. Technically it's cash. It's very difficult to understand from the consumer point of view. For safe payments, this is also very important. Today, if your wallet, your phone is lost, and your money is gone from WeChat or Alipay, it's very difficult to track it down. Very difficult. You might not be able to get it back. If you have all your money in digital RMB, anybody will see basically PBOC, of course, and your bank, because the program is connected to 6 banks so far, and the idea is to open to all the banks in the system during this year, will be easy to track it down. Then, of course, government will have a lot of potential to collect tax. How many of you today are paying tax for your monthly payments like ICE? Probably nobody. Well, in the future, it might happen. And the 6th thing that was introduced by this idea in the finance industry in the 30s, before the Second World War, by a German economist, potential expiration date. He was traveling around the world and he realized that some countries had the problem that they need to push consumption or some regions. So he was saying, why don't we print money with an expiration date? That later got forgotten. Well, now with digital RMB, there are experts already saying that that can happen. Technically, can happen. That I'm not selling digital RMB here as I'm just explaining as a concept, as a user, early user, and what do I see the connection. Going back to finish, where do I see the trends going and most of the business that you are going to be involved? And all of these, each of these can be a discussion of ours. Like I explained, central bank digital currencies, and the big question will be how the countries will connect. Because if China today decides to make every trade finance payment with digital RMB, the question is what are the countries going to do? It's been said that most likely after the games, the state-owned employees that are estimated in 200 million will be paid in digital RMB. So for the ones that are not using digital RMB now, let's see what happens. Because if somebody, your friend, Chinese, works for Quotai Qing'an Securities and then he gets paid in digital RMB, he needs to give you money, he will give you only money in digital RMB. It's very difficult to convert the digital RMB to paper money. You cannot get digital RMB out of ATM machine that doesn't have digital RMB capabilities. It's a lot of technical issues. Of course, AI and IoT, fintech innovation, the global cross-border payments will have a revolution here. This is significant. The revolution is very big. The smart cities and metaverse, this is the smart cities and the electronic cities and NFCs. This is a very big area. In my view, we cannot travel, so global partnerships are very important. The transparency and compliance, more experts in the industry are talking about transpliance, is going to be there. Don't forget, it's very important to have to be compliant, especially if you're going to do global payments. And to finish, don't forget, in China, if you are doing business in China, it's very important to follow two things. The Belt and Road Initiative, to understand the idea going global, both of the government and the companies and the currency, but also the 14th year plan. I don't know how many of you have been involved here for long. If you go back, everything that is said in the 5-year plan happens. But the most important thing is not only that. The most important thing is that if you are planning to do something that is not contemplated or openly not supported by the 5-year plan, in this case we are living under the 14th year plan now, it starts this year, it's not going to happen. So if you are looking for finance in a business area that is not included here, I would say it's very difficult that somebody will support you to make it happen. So I wanted to finish this. I will leave. Later we can exchange the QR code. I open the floor. We have maybe only 5-10 minutes for questions. Thank you again for the time. It took a little bit longer. Thank you for coming this morning.